Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Jeremiad podcast. It's me, Tom. On this episode, we're going to be revisiting one me and Andy did a while back, where we looked at the everyday kind of gripes and moans that really just kind of get under your skin in a way that maybe the bigger issues don't. Inconsequential, smaller kind of things that just somehow have a way of almost like a little splint, like a splinter, like a tiny splinter. Doesn't have to be that big. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it can cause you so much grief and annoyance. And you think this is going to be an absolute bastard when I pull it out, and it's just the tiniest little thing. So that's going to be the topic of conversation today. And we're joined as well by our dear friend Jake. Jake, hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me on here today. I feel very honoured.
Yeah, well, no, we're honoured to have you. This is a bit of a milestone, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, and it's much nicer than just talking to Tom.
Oh, thank you. I'm just gonna dive straight and then go with something that's been really annoying me recently. And I actually have a very recent example of this. So about a week ago, I went to the cinema to see The Brutalist. I don't know if either of you have seen that.
No, I have not.
No, good film, 3.5 hours. But it comes with a 15-minute interval, which I thought was quite good. Anyway, this is something I've noticed for a while now, and it's something that really gets to me. And I don't know if it's since I've moved to London, it's worse, but cinema etiquette in the UK has really gotten out of hand. It's really just absolutely fallen apart. People whispering, people going on their phones. I feel like there's just no respect and consideration in the cinema anymore. And I was watching The Brutalist, and there were these two women up on the back row, and they were whispering, like, but in a really loud way.
Can you give us an example?
Which one's he? Why can't I follow this? I'm just a dumb bitch.
And I was just like, it was a bit on and off for a while, and I was like, I don't want to have to do this, but I'm going to have to. And then there was like a solid minute. This wasn't just the occasional comment. This was like a full conversation that these two people were having. So I had to get up, walk up to the back of the cinema, and reprimand these two middle-aged women.
How did you reprimand them?
I grabbed them by the collars. I threw them to the ground. I just said to them, I can't quite remember, but I just said, like, can you two stop whispering because it's really distracting me. I wasn't like rude or anything, but I definitely wasn't like sort of polite about it either. Hopefully I conveyed my frustration with them. But I just think, like at that age, you should know better. Like, I'm sorry, did I miss something? Like, since when was it acceptable to talk in the cinema?
That's a fair point. And did they respond?
They kind of sort of looked a bit apologetic, carried on whispering for like a few more seconds, at which point I turned around and then they were like, okay, we'll stop now. Ooh. And then for the rest of the film, they were pretty well behaved. But the fact that I had to tell women of that age to not talk in the cinema, which is literally basic decency, I've paid money for this. If you want to have a conversation, go elsewhere. The cinema's not it. That ain't it. That ain't it, Chief. This isn't
a conversation, is it? No, it's not.
And as well, like, I think, but people going on their phones as well, it's like that for me is just baffling, because it's like, you've paid money for a big screen right there. Why are you going on this little screen that you can have access to anytime you want?
Well, particularly with a film like that as well, if they'd gone to see the latest Fast and Furious or just some mindless spectacle film, it's still not agreeable or acceptable, but you could tolerate or understand it a bit more. But with, more of an in-depth and epic like that is considered more on the avant-garde side of things, where attention is a prerequisite, it just seems a waste of their money, and it's a lack of respect, not just for the feature-length film in motion, but for the fellow man.
I agree. I initially found it quite funny because the idea of you standing up and going and as you put it, reprimanding them seemed quite outrageous, because I suppose we're quite a polite society. But really, the outrageous thing to do is to pay to be somewhere where other people have paid and to be talking over them. So even though what you did may have seemed a more outrageous thing as the whole, like, the truth is that really they're bang out of line for doing that.
Thank you. I feel validated, I think. But the thing is, this is not an isolated case. Other times where I've been to the cinema, like particularly in London, it's happened elsewhere, but particularly here, I don't know if it's some sort of like big city arrogance or something like that. But people just seem to think it's okay to whisper now. I mean, I get a bit annoyed as well, even if someone's snacking a bit too loud. But I'll allow that because that's, you're allowed snacks in the cinema. But
you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's some. No, I think they should offer snack-free screenings personally. For people like me, who I don't want to listen to someone fucking munching popcorn for the whole thing. But yeah, it's just I just couldn't believe it, and like I almost wonder if they pick seats right at the back with the very intention of talking.
It's very juvenile, isn't it? Like you're at the back of the school bus, just looking to stamp your authority on this maudlin world.
I don't know. I just think it's just a lack of common decency. And as well, like people, go on about kids these days and stuff, not having like the manners. But I genuinely think it's kind of those older, more entitled people that can be worse when it comes to this kind of behavior.
The boomers.
The fucking boomers, man.
Always comes back to the boomers.
Well, because the younger generations that are once often labelled as rude are now becoming the older generations, and they're still holding on to these sort of norms they've gave themselves of, being rude, very individualistic, whispering at the back of the cinema. They're the same sort of people who are playing music on the bus, really, aren't they? But they've just developed, upgraded to now whispering in the back of the cinema.
But they it's like they almost looked a bit annoyed at me. But it's like, as you say, like they're the ones in the wrong.
So you say it's a few times this has happened now. Have you been to the same cinema, or have you tried a few different ones and encountered the same nausea?
So it's been pretty much the same cinema. So maybe that's where I'm going wrong. But actually, no, that's not true. I had to go to a different one to see Nosferatu. And again, two people at the back, actually speaking quite loud as well at times. It wasn't as consistent as the Whisperers. It was like maybe 3 or 4 times during the film, but that's 3 or 4 times too many. I've been wanting to get that off my chest for a while because that's just something I think has been building. And I think one of these days I'm just going to go into the cinema with a prop gun, and before the film starts, I'm going to hold it up and I'm just going to be like, right. You saw what it said on the screen at the start. It literally says, no phones, no talking, shut up. If I hear one fucking peep out of any of you, it's good fucking night. I'm enjoying this film. God damn it. We're all going to have fun, right? We're going to have a fun fucking time.
It could be quite beneficial to that, because you could then end up writing a column about yourself. He stood up for his rights in the cinema.
Well, be rest assured, Tom, that your woes are heard, and we sympathise and empathise with you. Maybe it would be interesting on the back of this if me and Jake find ourselves in a cinema anytime soon in our respective lands and can weigh up our experiences on the back of that, and then we can start to chart the geography of it. Is it really just the cesspit that London is that encourages this nonsense? I was at a cinema screening the week before last. I mean, it was at a gig venue, but they just got a projector and they were playing a concert film, and it was fucking insane. It was so good. It was so cool. Honestly, after the first couple songs, people were clapping like we were there. And it was like we were there, bro. And this is a film from before we were born. Crazy. And seeing as I'm talking now, I'm just going to roll on and launch into my first point to raise, which is not really in line or a swift segue from what you've discussed there, but I feel like maybe we should shift gears and just let you simmer a little bit there, Tom. One thing that's annoyed me a little bit, so I moved place in December. I used to be able to just walk to my place of work, and it was a nice little walk along the canal, 20 minutes, easy, no problem. Where I am now, distance wise, is probably like maybe half a mile further, but in a different geographical disposition. So the walk is no longer really a tenable thing, but of course I have motion by vehicular wheels. And in theory, it should take me less time to get to work because obviously I'm traveling faster. I'm in a car and the distance grown isn't that much greater. But what I often find is that it takes me twice as long purely because the morning commute is an absolute fallacy. I mean, there's different layers to this, and it kind of comes back to overarching gripes with the housing market and the various thumbs that we are oppressed by and living under. But I think, like, on average, per capita, there are far more cars than there are households these days. I get it. People need to own something. The roads are just absolutely choked. And a commute that should take not that long at all ends up taking loads longer because you have to factor in time. And it's not like it's traveling distance, it's just standstill traffic, which then means that everyone's vehicles are much less efficient and you're just polluting the earth even more. And again, you kind of think, well, there's public transport. But public transport's a fucking nightmare. A day saver in Birmingham now, so 2 trips or more, it costs you £5. £5 a day. You know, like for people that do get the bus and commute to work, like some of my colleagues do, that really adds up. So naturally, people are going to think, well, I'd rather ride in the car in my own little cubicle of space, freedom, and sanity. And you can play your Foo Fighters album. You know, no one's going to judge you. You can scream "Take That" at the top of your lungs. It's cool. But it's not cool, though, is it? Because you're just stuck behind the bus the whole time. And it grinds my gears, really. It boils my blood. It means that then I have to wake up earlier, potentially. I have to leave the house earlier when I could be doing other things. And it's that block of time that you don't get compensated for that by your work. You don't get sympathy if you're late to work because of the commute. You need to be there on time. And it's just dead time, isn't it? So what used to be a 20-minute stroll on the canal, 15 on a good day if I was really motoring, is now at least half an hour of just meandering. And of course, then sometimes on the odd day where traffic flows freely, you get to work early. And there's nothing worse than that. I don't want to give the company extra time. So then I'm just sat in my car, in the car park. What am I going to do? I do a bit of Duolingo then, to be fair. I'm trying to get up on my language. But all it takes is your boss to pull up next to you. And she looks and she's a bit like, well, you're here. Why have you not signed in? Why are you not, cranking the gears already? And you just think, oh my God. So then you get into work and someone says good morning. And I'm like, good morning. How dare you?
I used to have the same trouble when I lived in London. It would take me the same amount of time to take the bus as it would to take me to walk.
Oh my God.
So because obviously the traffic, you're just stuck in it, aren't you? And so at the end of the day, you're paying for the privilege of arriving at the same time, really, aren't you? And it just seemed really silly. But then I would walk because I think, I might as well save the money. But then you walk and then you end up getting really sweaty. And it's not like these offices have any showers or anything, is it? So you arrive there and you sat there and you're stinking and sweaty all day.
And then they look at you like, oh, why have you come? Why have you come to work bringing a funk in?
Exactly. And it's not even like you have a fun time on the bus because you're not going to get a seat. You're going to be standing next to someone who doesn't want you to stand next to them, and you don't want to stand next to them either.
And they're probably sweaty.
They are sweaty, and they're rubbing off on me, and I'm getting sweaty. It's a zero-sum game. We all lose.
The commute in general is just like a disgusting kind of thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, unless it is like your previous one where you get to stroll along the canal. I get the tube. I have to walk 20 minutes to the tube, and then it's about another 20 minutes on the tube, and that's costing me like £5.60 a day. Yeah. So I'm spending like up to about 30 quid a week just getting to work, getting to and from work. And then obviously that's the other thing as well, Andy, you're now paying fuel money to get to work. Whereas before it was free, as free as things can be in life, that's just like, you just get to walk. And now you're actually having to burn fuel for this. This is like that money that company gives you is then just going back into getting to that company. That's what it's this sick, twisted system that we have.
You think as well, though, you make a very valid point. You're paying for just to be able to get there. And particularly when the onboard computer is just showing me like the estimate of how many miles you have left till empty. And I'm just watching it tick down as I'm sat there going nowhere. And you're literally paying to further this web of pollution that we live under. It does no good, but it does plenty damage to the soul.
What about you then, Jake? What grinds you?
Quite a few things gripe me. Tying in nicely there with the whole conversation about cars is I haven't got a driver's license, and it really gripes me how bizarre people find that. Now, admittedly, I'm starting to find it rather bizarre myself, but I've never found the need for a car. But I'm going to get one now because my missus is constantly pestering me to get one because she thinks it's an offence that I haven't got one. It's not like we could afford a car if we wanted a car, or like we would use it enough to warrant having the car. But it's the fact I haven't got a license which seems to really upset her, and in turn that damages my masculinity. It's like, I feel like I need to get it. So this year I'm going to get it, but it winds me up. Maybe it's just because I haven't got it that it's winding me up so much, and maybe when I do get it, I will see differently. I work on the roads all the time. I'm always on the roads all the time on my bike, and the amount of traffic is it gets more and more every year, and it's kind of like it's really quite fascinating, like how there's a lot of like main through roads in Liverpool that are just like two-way streets. There's just two lanes, go opposite directions of traffic, and how much traffic, how many cars can fit through these tiny streets at a time. And it gets more and more and more, and the cars are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't think it's a positive thing overall for society. And it's not being encouraged to use public transport, because public transport is continuously being made worse or more expensive. The other week, I looked for train tickets from Liverpool to London. It's going to cost about 350 quid. I wish it was a joke. It's not. It's like 350 quid to get a train. Like, it's one way. You know what I mean? Like,
I have noticed though on that note, since a certain person moved to London, it does seem like the prices have really skyrocketed.
They know you want to get down there, Andy.
Well, what can I say? Everyone just wants to come to London to see me. See, former Chase winner Tom Burton. Yeah, no, you're right about the traffic. It's absolutely insane how much traffic we have in this. Because when I had a few years abroad and stuff in New Zealand and Australia, and the roads there are comparatively very quiet. And I came back and I was like, fuck me, even just driving like down whatever road it is you get from, where you go from like sort of like Chester, Wrexham back into like Oswestrian. What is that? Like just the bypass. That's fucking busy all the time. And as you say, like public transport's expensive. It's slow as well. The trains are all. I mean, I'm going to Scotland in April to visit a friend. It's cheaper for me to fly. I'm going from Luton to Inverness, return 50 quid.
Okay, that's quite good. Yeah.
And it'll take like an hour and 20 minutes, whereas like the train would take me like fucking 3 days and be about $2,000. And it's like, I'm not fucking doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Infrastructure is a devoid entity. You're absolutely right. I think we are more or less like at capacity, but the problem is it's just a private enterprise, isn't it? That car manufacturers keep on spewing them out and trying to sell them to people, and people keep on buying them. They're a status item and all the other stuff. And a little bit like your situation, Jake, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, we could do with a car, but we don't actually need it. But on the off chance that maybe like one Saturday we want to go to Inverness, it's going to be easier on car than by bike. Bringing it back to the driving license thing, I find it interesting because there's quite a few people that I know in my life that don't have a driving license that are similar age, and they're just not fussed at all. And I think, again, they just don't have need for one, or couldn't really, like, when you think about the running costs of a vehicle and everything, it's not quite right for them. But I think a lot of people view it as reflective of, like, almost adult status, as like it is just a kind of a standard adult thing to do or to have, is to get your license regardless of whether you're actually going to use it, which is just a bit pointless. And the thing is as well is the actual cost of driving lessons these days. It's mental. It's mental. I remember when I learned to drive, like 7 or 8 years ago, and £20 a lesson was kind of the average price. And like everywhere now, the cheapest that I've heard when people have, one of my sisters has spoken about getting driving lessons. She's like, oh yeah, I found someone that does them for 40 quid. And I'm like, is that for a couple of lessons? She's like, no, for an hour. What?
I did see it today, a driving lesson. It was a company that hires out cars for driving lessons, and they were hiring a car out for 20 quid an hour. So from what we used to pay for a lesson is now charging the instructor 20 quid an hour just to hire the vehicle before they actually put on their own wage and their own,
Yeah. I suppose that says it all, though, because I always just assumed, or I remember like the instructors I had, it was that they owned the car, which I just kind of always assumed would be the case. Either it's a one-man band sort of business and they own the vehicle, or there's a company and they've got a fleet. And
you've got to pay the theory test, then you've got to pay for the practical exam as well. It fucking adds up. It does add up. I mean, the one thing I would, Jake, if you are thinking of doing your test, the Isle of Skye has the highest pass rate in the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's like 2 roundabouts on the whole fucking island. You know that pretty much everyone just passes first time because it's so fucking easy up there. So just a thought: if you didn't want to take it in Liverpool, you could get the lessons in Liverpool and then just go up to Skye and take the test there. Just a thought. But I guess the one thing the license does give you is it does give you freedom to an extent. Obviously, it's not, the freedom itself isn't free because you got to pay for it. But like I think in certain situations, maybe not so much in the UK because it is quite small and it is generally well connected. You can get about, but like I guess when I was when I lived on the Isle of Skye, if I hadn't had a car, it would have made things a bit difficult for me. Somewhere like that, somewhere a bit more rural and remote, I think a car is a very useful thing to have. But when you're living in Liverpool, Birmingham, London, wherever it is, it's maybe not that necessary.
Did we need cars in Oswestry, lads? If you had no, sorry. It
seemed like a rite of, like you say, like a rite of passage in Oswestry, wasn't it? Because like the buses were there was no trains, was there? Unless you're going to hike it to Gabowen, and like the buses were like once an hour, if that, and they only ran between like 2 and 8 p.m. I think having a car in Oswestry was very handy and useful. But then you say, like Tom said, you get to the cities, it's not super necessary. But then, like when you want to go abroad, if you want to just go out for a day, like I'd really like to go and see the North Pennines, but getting there by train's a real ball ache. If I had a car, it'd be much easier. I'd just jump in the car and drive there. I'm not reliant on getting trains and swapping and having to bike between different stations and whatnot. So there is definitely like an aspect of freedom that comes with it, and you can always hire a car for a day or so, can't you? I do see that. I just kind of I do lament the fact that it's so necessary. I do really wish we had better public transport. It should never have been something that was privatized, really, should it?
I do think, though, when we speak about the freedom a car gives you, I don't think that freedom is as tangible as it used to be, particularly in the remit of more built-up areas in the UK. Exactly as we've said about the commute. I sit there in that morning and I think, is this fucking freedom? Everyone bought that idea of freedom, and now no one has it because everyone's clogged up the artery.
It's almost like Alton Towers. You go to Alton Towers, and if you pay for the queue jump ticket, and everyone pays for the queue jump ticket. And it's like
so no one jumps the queue
because the queue is now on in the queue jump. Another thing I wanted to moan about a bit was search engine optimization. It was on the website the other day. I think it was just Wix. I wanted to do some work on my website. I searched Wix and I had to go down about like 5 or 6 results because they're all different website building companies. That's like, no, but I searched Wix. Why are you showing me Squarespace? Surely like the one I searched should be the first one, and then whatever is like the adverts come after it. It doesn't work like that, does it? That really pissed me off. It continually reinforces this idea that it's a pay to play society, isn't it? Wants to search for Wix. If Squarespace have paid more money than Wix, then they're going to see Squarespace before they've seen Wix.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He searched for this. So what he actually wants is this.
But we'll tell him what he wants. He thinks he wants this.
That is very frustrating. Yeah, it muddies the waters all the time, doesn't it? And then it acts to confuse you as well. You'd be so direct and forthright in your idea or your destination. You just get bogged down in it. And that's exactly what they want. They want to distract you with the flickering neons and the bright, shiny, look at this website, do it 20% cheaper. You think, should I migrate my whole shit?
I feel like just searching anything these days is fucking annoying because like the first thing you get is that AI generated Google overview, which is like, I didn't ask for this. I don't, because I just like, I have to scroll past this crap first. And then you get the fucking stuff that's been pushed up, the ads. It's like, no, this isn't what I wanted either. It's horrible. You got to scroll about like five or 6 finger scrolls down before you actually get to the fucking result you want. It's insane, and the SEO is probably being run by AI now. I don't know, a kind of a cycle of just AI nonsense trying to fucking influence your search.
It's exactly that. When you think about the terminology of it as well, search engine optimization. people always assume it's optimized for the user's benefit and experience, but it's very much not. It's optimized for their gain at your cost. You are mercy to the search engine. It also makes me think of like dead internet theory, and about how how much of that tide has tipped and what percentage of internet activity is still generated by humans as opposed to what now is literally all just bots. What's the ratio? Because it is a sliding scale, and obviously the bots been growing. The bots have been buying up all the cars and driving on the road, so you can't get to work on time, but they'll still call it optimized.
Speaking of bots, I really I've gotten into a bad habit of like reading like Instagram and YouTube comments, just because the amount of visceral hate that is in the comments. Like someone will do like, it'd be like a politics joke, I follow Politics Joe and one of their posts, and like below it would just be loads of accounts just spewing loads of hate, and they've like one follower and they're following like 3,000 people, and it's like an AI generated image of like a cartoon sniper rifle or something. Like, that's just all it is. And it's just like I don't think there's any real people about anymore on the internet. Like I don't know any real people who actually comment on things that much, or like it's just all entirely bots, and if they're not spewing hate, then they're like saying link in bio, and they want to show you like a generated coochie, and it's just I don't know what the internet has become anymore. It started off with so much promise. It's like this mechanism to like anyone around the world could get hold of any information that they wanted, and knowledge was now free and universal for everyone. And now it's just become a vessel for hate and pornography. I don't know if that speaks to humanity on a greater scale. It both entertains and scares the shit out of me.
Precisely. I think that's exactly the balance it strives to achieve.
It's no secret my disdain for social media, but I do frequent Reddit quite often. I feel like there might still be some real people on there, but I have noticed lots of bots just reposting like the same questions and posts within various Reddit threads that I'm a part of. One of the worst ones is like the kind of movie critic thread where, it's just sort of it's just a space to talk about films and recommend films and stuff. But it's just the same fucking posts like every other day. It's just awful. And people now are commenting, like the top comments are, oh, another bot. But then I wonder to myself, is that just a bot? Are the bots now, are they becoming so clever at disguising themselves? They're calling out bots even when they themselves are a bot. That's the ultimate sort of form of deception. It's kind of like these layers, it's just all these bots, man. I'm sick of these AI bots. Am I right? It's like, how do you do, fellow humans? I'm done with these fucking bots.
And it used to be like almost quite wholesome, really, how you'd have two people arguing over like the most mundane thing about a music video for a really unknown band, and they're arguing about like, you said, oh, the band member's name is this. Yeah, but that's actually this. Yeah, but he's from here. Yeah, but how do you know that? Or did you go to school with him, mate? And all of that kind of really trivial shit, but it's real, And again, it's a complete waste of the internet. But at least you weren't in doubt of the fact that that's actually a human behind a screen somewhere. I remember way back in the day, this is silly, way back in the day when we tried some stupid shit with Odic, the skateboard group, and we put some videos on YouTube, and there was another like skate crew who were actual skaters that made a hate video about us. And you kind of thought it was absolutely crushing at the time. But it was real, those were real dudes somewhere hating on our very real fake bullshit.
The time before bots.
Chris Bassford skater, wasn't it?
Oh, you said his name. Hey, it's perfect actually. So typically on the podcast, we've got into a habit of just kind of sporadically calling someone out every time. We've called out a few people for fights, for rap battles, things like that. Chris Bassford skater, if you're out there, if you're still alive, if that's even like, if it is Chris Bassford, because it was a group of people, is Bassford an amalgamation of name? Is Chris even a real name? I don't know. If you're out there, bro, I'm challenging you to an ollie off, right? I'll meet you at a place of your choosing. I couldn't ollie back in the day. I probably still can't now, but I'm sick of it. I'm sick of your gripes. I've carried that burden too fucking long, right? I'm going to stand up for Oswestrian and do it. So that's the official Jeremiad call out for this episode.
Damn fucking right.
So there's something else that has been bloody well annoying me recently, and it's to be fair, it's always annoyed me. And you two being men of word, it should annoy you both also, I'd imagine. But there's a real trend. I say a trend. It's probably always happened how people butcher vernacular and language in this way. But this habit that people have of like co-opting colloquial buzzwords to spray as universal blanket ammunition in lieu of accurately conveying expression or feeling. So, for example, I had an ex once upon a time who fell in love with the term peng. I noticed that she just started using it more and more and more to the point where it was almost like she couldn't speak a sentence without peng being in it. Like anything that in the remote bracket of good, which is already a death of a word in itself, would be peng. Everything and anything. Like there was nothing that couldn't be peng as long as it was like slightly positive. Very infuriating. You know, no wonder we didn't really stand the test of time. And there's multiple things that are bloody well wrong with it. But like I've seen a lot recently, and it's been bounded up about for a good few months in my perception now. But the term slay, everything is a slay. Anytime that someone does something that is cool or remotely interesting, or they wear an outfit with, I don't know, an upturned sleeve or something daring or whatever it is, people just, it's a slay. And it's like, you can't just use one blanket term to express kind of everything, because then it means nothing. But of course they can. And I think often what then does happen is people use the word or the phrase so much that they even themselves lose or forget what the meaning of it is. I think as well, like how often it comes from sources unknown. People will maybe see a TikTok or something on social media where someone has used this term and it gets stuck in the subconscious, and then they just start spewing it even more. So then it spreads like a viral disease. Like it's almost like people want to make it their own catchphrase, you know? And I think not only is it reductive to one's own brain capacity, it's usually issued in the wrong way, as said, so it makes it a complete malapropism. It also seeks to strip the word of its own power, and it's a blight on the etymology of the word itself. Slay, for example, in modern history was popularized in the 70s within Black, Latino, and LGBTQ, well, LGBT, as it were, then sort of circles. So there's a lot of kind of charged meaning to it. And when you see these TikTok influencers, Starbuck, white girl, blonde hair, Ugg boots ladies professing that anything and everything is a slay, you know, that there's actually quite damaging.
Yes, Andy, slay. Oh my god. Yeah, yes, queen. I know what you mean. Like, there was a girl on my course who used to say slay all the fucking time, and it really just used to do my fucking. It's like, just shut up.
But
like, I will slay you. And you know.
Well, yeah. The thing is about that though is like you were doing a master's in journalism, so someone should have a propensity of language about them to be able to think of a different word, you know, or have a grasp of the beauty of language.
But yeah, but I was also recently I was on a train. It was when I was going back to London after a lovely Christmas in Shropshire, and there was this fucking like annoying Scottish girl trying to show her dad a video of Skibbity Toilet. You've heard of this?
No.
And she was like, you've heard of it, right?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of Skibbity.
You haven't, Andy?
No, I've heard of Skibbity, and I know what a toilet is, but not the two combined.
I think I'm not too sure what the lore behind it is, but I think Skibbity Toilet is like some sort of song or some video or something. But she was like she was like, Dad, it's Skibbity Toilet. You gotta look. It's Skibbity. And the dad's just like, what? But he was more of a bit of a geezer. He was like, what's Skibbity, darling? What's that? It's Skibbity. That's something. What is that? And then she was trying to show him this video, and he just looked perplexed. I'm trying to read my fucking book, and I've got this fucking Scottish kid going on about fucking Skibbity Toilet. So I feel like I've entered some sort of like, you know, dystopian future here. And this kid must be like, I don't know, 5 or 6. And I'm just like, they're being corrupted at such a young age. It's just sad to see. and then I have to deal with that. And it's like fucking, and then she's playing the video out loud on her phone, so I'm listening to this fucking Skibbity Toilet song, and I just feel like I'm going insane.
Is that not just like us getting old though? Like
No.
Like in the nicest way possible, but you really are starting to sound like a male editor. this young Scottish woman was talking about something on her phone, and I just wanted to read my book.
I bet she wants a referendum as well. Yeah.
This is what it is. This is just getting old, isn't it? Like the kids are start doing things that we don't understand, and we don't like it. They're doing these things, and they're new, and they're upsetting me. They're reminding me of my age.
But in Tom's defense, he was bragging on those older than him earlier. So I think the fact that he's being openly discriminatory to like a wide demographic works in his favor here.
People, no.
Thank you, Andy. I don't. When it comes to hating, I don't discriminate.
He'll hate anyone. But no, it's like the youth speak of today. I mean, I didn't want to. I felt that was too low hanging fruit to talk about Skibbity or Delulu or these kind of things. But mid and cooked as well, terms that I've heard a lot recently. That it's not just the youth, those much younger than us, that are using these. It's people, our contemporaries, people that everyone just seems to be co-opting them. And again, it's like, I don't know, the value of cool speak. If you're like, oh, that's mid, bro. Like, what do you actually mean by that? It's something you do not care for. Why do you not care for it? You know? And I think that there is a stunted expression at large that just gets boiled down into monotonous gobble.
One cray thing people be doing that drive me delulu when I'm just trying to live my best life and slay on the streets and be very mindful and demure, is when I get the hungies. I'll stop.
I can see you irritated yourself there. The migraine's coming on, isn't it?
A constant source of frustration for me is actually the supermarket.
Oh my god!
Supermarkets, man, people's shenanigans in supermarkets absolutely do my fucking head in. Like, I'm a very efficient shopper. I know what I want. I go into Lidl, pick something up from the bakery, usually a toffee yum yum, sometimes a cinnamon bun, and then I'm like a fucking snake through those aisles, man. I just zigzag. I know what I want. I get in, I get out. There's cunts there who are just like, think they've got all the time in the world. They're just standing right where you need to be. It's like, move, get on with it. But the thing that gets me the most, the thing that really irks me, is how inconsiderate and slow people can be at the self-checkouts. God, this gets me so bad. The whole point of the self-checkout is to make the shopping experience express. It is to streamline the shopping experience so you don't have to wait for the people at the till. It's so you can go in, scan it yourself, and get out. There's people there who are scanning, like, on average, like one item every like 8 seconds. They're taking their sweet time. One thing that annoys me as well is when you've got this, you can do the option to bring your own bag, and you put your bag in first. So you bag as you scan, and you see these people, and they scan like all this shopping, like they've got early onset rigor mortis, and they finally scan it, they pay for it, and then they've got to bag it. It's like, what are you fucking doing? Like, that irritates me so much. It's like, you had the bag this whole time, so just get it prepped. I go in, I get my bag, I whip it out, I make a display of it, I pull it out of my bag, because like you got to kind of like shake them a bit to I like, look at me in my bag, everyone. This is how it's fucking done, and I put it in, and then I scan like it's an Olympic sport. I'm just go. I've got like the fucking, like, it's like muscle memory now. I know red pepper. I hit it. Vegetables, go. I'm in there. Bananas. I always get bananas. It's like, that's one of the ones that comes up because that's one of the popular items. I don't even have to go into the fruit and veg category to get that. I just get straight into the bananas, man. Hit bananas on the scales. 78p. They're in the bag. Next one. Let's move. I'm out of there. I'm fucking out of there. But I have to wait for these slow bastards to just take their sweet time, and it's just disrespectful. The whole point of this is to be fast. I just get so annoyed in the supermarket.
A few things there. Firstly, would you call yourself a potassium pervert?
Yes, undoubtedly.
Secondly, I'm that guy. I bring bag with me, and then I'll scan stuff, and I'll be like, oh, now I need to put it in my bag. Oh. But yeah, I do agree with you. It's like some people, it's a social activity for some people, or maybe the height of the day. And supermarkets, by and large, are a cesspit. You do not want to be spending longer than you have to in there. Lord have mercy. The cost as well. I started going to Lidl. I went on Monday, and I swear I just got stuff for the week and a couple other essentials, and I spent £35, and I'm just like, how? It's like a commute in itself.
I don't know, like I've seen people as well in those express checkouts. Like, because again, I feel like there's an unspoken thing where it's like you should really have like maybe 12 items or less, 15 at a push. But I see people doing like, trolley. Yeah, bringing a whole trolley in. I remember in Tesco in Sheffield once watching this dude put about 100. I could see how much it was costing him. He had about 100 quid's worth of food, which maybe, as you say, isn't as much as it used to be. But still, that's a lot of food. I remember he bought a big ham joint. I remember that. Do you think, I'll give you a guess, do you think he was bagging it as he went?
Hold on. Jake, you take this one.
I'm not going to say he was, no.
He wasn't. You're right.
No.
Bang on. So he's putting through like maybe 30 fucking items and then bagging it afterwards. There's a special place in hell for people like him. It's just despicable behavior.
What it tells you, though, is that's a man with means. That's a wealthy chap. That's a silver spoon son of a gun right there. He's never had to stress the time that he's pissed away, because he's a man of means.
It's kind of on the topic of supermarkets, advertising. I found I despise advertising. I don't like flashy packaging. I don't like flashy branding. I just think milk should be called milk. I don't know why we need different brands of milk. It's I used to work in a cheese factory, and I would see the same 20-kilo blocks of cheddar come through the back door and leave via the front door as Waitrose, Asda, Tesco, and Aldi, all priced at different prices.
Mm.
It's all the same cheese. It's all come from the same dairy.
Because the packaging is everything, though. It's very psychological, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm reading a book on economics at the moment and how like supermarkets will target their audiences based on what their audiences are willing to pay more on or less for. People who shop in Asda might shop at Asda because Asda do certain items for less money than Tesco, but they'll do other items for more, and that's how they make up the money. And I despise advertising. I despise marketing. But it seems such a necessary thing in this day and age, doesn't it? Like if you haven't got a good, because everyone's doing the same thing, because everyone's buying from the same suppliers or the same manufacturers, so everything's just being packaged up and boxed up all in different boxes and names. So without your advertising is the only thing that distinguishes you from the competition, really, isn't it? Because your competition are all buying the same products as you. So you go on Amazon and like I bought a battery pack, like a portable charger, the other day on Amazon, and they're all the same. It's all the same chargers, but they're just sold by different people at slightly different prices and slightly different like branding and stuff. But it's all the same product.
And those two businesses will be at the same location, just like you say, with a different sticker on the envelope.
Yeah, all comes from the same factory. Just put a different sticker. Sticker means you pay an extra £5 more because you want to pay more.
I remember there was a big thing at Morrison's used to be my local supermarket, and there was a big thing maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, I think with like the onset of the cost of living crisis and people moaning about where produce was coming from, and there was an increased focus on the desire for British produce. So the packaging was one way that manufacturers could show this, but often it was not that the product was actually originated or sourced in the UK. It was that it was packed in the UK. Yeah. So then there was the Union Jack on everything, and if it had the Union Jack on it, it was probably marked up a little bit. There's no difference to the product at all. It's purely just advertising, which in shorthand is a fucking con, is it not? Like that's all it ever has been about. Like you say, the bottle says milk. Cool. I need milk because that's my nutrients. How am I going to eat my shreddies without my milk? Well, of course, you can eat shreddies without the milk. But see then, I speak of them as shreddies, not as malted Wheaties, which is, of course, what they actually are. Bread is bread. I don't need it to be like Hovis, best of both. Andrex, a famous example, you know, with the cute little dog that just implants itself in everyone's mind, and they somehow have an association of paying more money for literal paper you're going to wipe your ass with because there's a dog on the advert.
She's spending money to flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Do you know what else I hate about supermarkets these days as well? Is they're all really on these like fucking like club card point scheme, you know, kind of things to get discounts. It's like, why do you need like some sort of account to go shopping around? What's this all about? And I think a court ruled that Tesco's club card system was like illegal or like unfair competition or whatever because it looked too similar to Lidl or some shit. And then they found actually that the way the club card system works, you don't even save money. They have this like deceitful thing where they'll sort of like actually put the price up more than it would be anyway, and then they'll put it down on the club card version, and then you just end up paying what you should pay anyway, but you think you're getting a better deal. And it's like, you know, there's like Lidl Plus, there's like Nectar points, there's like my Waitrose, there's the Tesco club card. There's probably, you know, the Morrison's VIP. There's like the, I don't know, the Aldi gang, the Marks and Spencer's Gentleman's Club card. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Like
you're not getting the deal, are you? You're getting the perception of a deal. You're getting the idea of a deal, but they've marked the original price up anyway.
Exactly, it's ridiculous. But then, like, you also think, am I missing out on these like fucking club card deals? And then sometimes you look at the price, you look at the wrong price first, don't you? You look at the club card price, and you're like, oh, sweet, like that's only, you know, £2, and then you realize, oh, actually, it's fucking £3.50. But then, should it just be £2 anyway?
I found myself in the Sports Direct the other day, and I had a similar experience there. Everything there is on sale, and ever since I was a child, everything in Sports Direct has been on sale, and I refuse to believe that these things are now actually on sale. I just think, as you say, that the original price has been marked up so that when they bring it on like 70% sale, they're selling it at actually what they want to sell it at.
Of course, yeah. It is just the perception of the deal. It's DFS, like on 24/7. You know, DFS is always the way, isn't it? Every sofa is always like £400 off. Because they think that, you think that you are getting some kind of value, whereas if instead they just said, look, these shoes are 50 quid, that's it, mate, you know, no bother, buy them or don't, then there's no pageantry to it though, is there? That's the thing. And you wouldn't make that purchase because you kind of think, oh well, they're £50, maybe I can't afford that. Instead you think, oh well, they're 50, but they used to be 322. Fuck, I need them.
I had a friend who was a professional gambler. He took me to a casino because I was a new member. By signing up, I would get all these like special offers. They would match my bets and whatnot. And he said, you sign up and I'll put the money in, but you sign up so we get the deals. I thought, all right, there's no skin in my back. You buy me a drink or whatever, you know, be a fun little night out at the casino. And he lost every bet he put down. And I was like, oh, that was fun, but you lost. And he was like, no, but can you not see that they were good odds. They were good odds because they were matching our bets. And I was like, but you still lost, didn't you? And he's like, no, but that's not the point. Like, they were good odds. The odds were in our favor. I was like, but you've walked out of here like 50 quid lighter. You know, is it? You've still lost. Like, you know. And he I don't know, he just couldn't see it that way. He was too deep in the reeds, I think, with the gambling. I found it really bizarre. It was a fun little night out, but I just couldn't quite get around to the idea that they were good odds.
That is exactly the situation when you go around any average supermarket these days, is you are gambling and you think they're good odds, but you come out with your wallet a hell of a lot lighter.
It's it. I'm going to shop here because it's going to be cheaper. Because nobody wants to like shop about. That's a lot of effort.
You can't do that.
You have to go to like 4 different supermarkets to like get the best prices. No one's going to fucking do that, are they?
Someone I know does that. Someone I know, we had this discussion recently, and she said that on a Sunday we'll go to Aldi for these things, we'll go to Waitrose for these things, we'll go to Sainsbury's for... I had to really fight the urge not to just turn around, jaw slacking, and go like, what even are you? Like, what kind of existence is this?
She's a professional shopper, Andy, is what she is. She's sussed out the system, man.
But when you're sussing out the system, like if you have to spend an extra 3 hours a week, like making £10 worth of saving on the shopping, is that actually worth the savings that you're making? Like, you know, driving between transport between all these different supermarkets, the time you spend in them, like how much are you saving? Because if you really want to get down to it, like say what if you just want to like charge your hourly rate of shopping at a national minimum wage, are you actually making that money back off the amount you're saving?
And the sanity as well. Imagine that. Like, so you're saying, Tom, what's your average supermarket time for a run? Would you say? Because it seems to me like you would definitely have a figure for this.
If I calculate the time of me getting in and me getting to the checkout with everything I need, I'd probably say I'm averaging like 3.5 minutes.
Jesus Christ, that's ridiculous.
I was expecting like 15 minutes. I think I'm pretty savvy. I think I'm pretty quick. I'm probably in about maybe like 10 minutes or something. But 3.5 minutes, that's breaking.
Well, it's quite a small. It's a small little. It depends. If maybe I'll push it up to like 4.5 if I spend like a little time in the special buy section. Sometimes I probably spend more time just trying to fucking pay for my shop than the actual shop itself.
Could you imagine spending hours of a Sunday, like not even about the time accrued, but think about the sanity that you lose slipping around those sleek surfaces. I also think you've got a good business idea then that you could set up a middleman shopping service, and I suppose this does already exist in the likes of delivery shopping, but this is different. This is bespoke. This is more humane. So you can meet someone outside the Lidl. They give you the list, and you're like, right, cool, yeah, 5 minutes. I'm gone. I'm back. I'll load it in the car. They can go and have a sarnie down the sandwich man.
Well, a supermarket sweep.
Supermarket sweep. Yeah, just like that. Yeah. We're riding by yellow lines, but all I see is red. That mist that rises from frazzled heads. They speak in skibbity, yet call you the pleb. We could go band for band, the ceiling of perceived intellect. To be down with the kids is to be down with the sickness. But outside the remit of reals, they'd be unsure of any existence. Like life is little but a pixel filter to swipe through and swan dive off in an instant. The bus won't move. Is it just reluctant or broken down again? No greater a symbol of the Britain for which they demand our reliance. No thoughts given to investment, infrastructure, and subsidizing. The council chooses blindness. Red lights emblazoned in my iris. I try to call this funk a groove, but it's been 10 minutes of fucking idling, and it's nothing short of sheer irony for the rush to work to shut down the roads entirely. A million four-seat monstrosities rolling as islands. Fumes rise from the sullen seas of solo drivers. MPGs sink deep as all around tides abandon us. Sap soul, spirit and salary, still bound by the sordid yellow lines that further become the furthest remit of our earthly boundary, slaying ourselves for a rear view mirror selfie.
That's very good, Andy. I enjoyed that. I like that a lot.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed writing it.
Brilliant. You really slayed with that one. Brilliant use of the word skibbity.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It's probably the only time it'll enter a poem of mine.